The question, why do the old school physiques looks better than 99 of lifters today? Every time I come across a picture of Steve Reeves or even other golden era bodybuilders, I'll always ask myself why they look so different than most people do now. We're drowning in endless studies, endless optimization, debates, endless information, and those guys had worse equipment, no internet, no YouTube, and they still look better and were stronger than most guys in commercial gyms today. If you could take a snapshot of the average gym back then at 7 a.m. versus now, you'd see a lot more men who were actually jacked, actually strong, and not confused about how to train. Now it seems like it's most a split between guys who are pushing extreme amounts of speeds and guys who are still stuck in the novice stage with minimal muscle, even though they've been lifting for years. And like I've said many times on this channel, I'm not a bodybuilder. I don't care to even step on a stage. I train to look good in everyday life, to be strong and to live longer. This video isn't me suddenly caring about bodybuilding or comparing eras just to debate bodybuilding history. What I'm getting at, it uses the old school lifters as a reference point because they showed what actually worked for getting jacked without overcomplicating everything. Even though people say that they train for health and strength only, most of us care what we look like to some degree. Old school lifters built physiques that look powerful, aesthetic, and masculine without looking artificial or crazy. They actually looked strong and healthy. And another reason their look stood out is because they weren't chasing extremes. They were lean but not as shredded to the point of looking unhealthy and sick. Also, they had real tans from sunlight. Their look wasn't built under artificial lifting and spray paint. Their physiques also looked better because they were balanced. Nothing was overdone. The chest stood out. The shoulders and back supported the upper body. Their arms didn't overpower everything. And their legs were strong and aesthetic. Not unrealistically huge. They weren't trying to max out random muscle groups just to be impressive on stage for a judge. And that's why I think those physiques still stand out decades later, because the principles behind them are realistic and something everyday lifters can actually follow. Today we have the complete opposite problem. We have way too much information, too many voices telling you to do a different method, too many options, too many clickbait. You are missing the secret detail videos, and most people are more confused and look worse because the more information they consume, the less direction they actually have. Old school lifters didn't deal with that. Like I've already said, they had less information, less noise, and even less equipment. And that forces them to make training simple, repeatable, and brutally effective. Those guys picked a philosophy. They stuck with it long enough for it to actually work. They trained hard and they recovered, and then they became jacked. But it wasn't because they had more information, but because they had less. Personally, I hit my breaking point when I realized that after all the videos I'd watched over the years, the ones that I'd saved into my watch later on YouTube and just kept researching, I felt more confused than when I first started. That's when I stepped back and asked myself a simple question. If they looked better back then with less information and less complexity, what were they doing that were missing today? So I went back and studied the principles of guys like Steve Reeves, Leroy, Colbert, and I began simplifying everything. I trained fewer days, I focused on the basics and actually started progressing again. And this is all the ties directly into the concept of the one source rules that I've talked about before in previous videos. If you want to build a physiques that looks good for everyday life, you need to commit to one direction long enough to get results. Not switching your plan constantly. Simplicity plus consistency gets you jacked. So if you want that old school jacked look, focus on the basics. Prioritize your upper chest with incline pressing movements using barbells, dumbbells, or machines, and rotate them every few months. Build broad shoulders with overhead presses, training your back with wide grip exercise to create that V-taper, and keep your legs strong and aesthetic, not oversized. Stay lean year-round to show your structure. Keep your training volume lower but intensity high, and focus on getting stronger at the same core movements over time instead of constantly switching exercises. And in my opinion, this is what builds the physique that looks good, and it's exactly what I still follow. So I hope this video was helpful. If you're new here, I share all my training and nutrition advice for free. Check my older videos. I probably covered what you are looking for. And if you want a personalized plan for a better results, just direct me on Instagram. Thank you for watching. Train smart, be patient, and you'll get it. Victor out. See you in the next one. Peace.